I were to ask you where all this money comes from, what would be your first thought? Where do you think all this money comes from? How do you think the world runs? On what do you think the world runs? How do people survive day to day, making ends meet? All these questions come to mind when you're trying to figure out your life. You're trying to understand why you're in a specific situation financially and why you can't get out of it after a certain period of time. Because the craziness that you face is not necessarily the, the fact that you're facing struggle, but the fact that this struggle endures over a period of time that is beyond what you feel is normal or necessary. Now, there's the laws of the universe that we can all try to make sense of, but there are also the laws of productivity. And that level of productivity that you have within yourself and within your day-to-day routine is what would end up reflecting on your wallet, reflecting on your bank account. And no question about it, fortune comes for those who are more productive with their time. That is an obvious statement. Because sometimes we think that we're doing a lot, that we are exercising all of our efforts, and we are exercising all of our resources, and we believe that we've been limited to a certain level of productivity because of a certain amount of resources that we were given. But resources can compound based on how you use them. And this is the trick of life, in my opinion. After the humble years that I've been on this earth, and the many years of struggle, and the many years of forced myself into struggle, I forced myself into discomfort. I forced myself in getting out of my comfort zone, even though in certain times I didn't need to. But I always put myself into situations that make me uncomfortable financially, or that put pressure on me financially, so that I can excel greater than I would have if I didn't do that. There's a certain trait that every human being will end up unlocking when they're put under pressure. There's a certain thing about us humans that makes us want to do more, that makes us come up with the extraordinary, that makes us achieve the impossible when we're put under pressure and when we're struggling and when it's survival mode. It's something about human beings ever since cavemen, ever since the history of man, ever since the descendant of Adam and Eve. Survival unlocks a certain instinct within human beings that allow us to make the impossible possible. And coming back to the notion of money and what that is and where it comes from and why it exists is something that we've perceived as a society, no longer as reasonable human beings, but as loyal civilians, as law-abiding citizens. We've come to perceive money in a way that is flawed, in my opinion, because of the mere fact that we believe that money is what leads you to success, that money is what allows you to do more, that your resources limit your possibilities, limit your opportunities. And that is not true. We all have an equal opportunity. We don't have the equality of possibility because that's nearly impossible. But we have the equality of opportunity. And out of opportunity, you unlock what is possible. But you have to have an eye for opportunities. You have to have an open mind. You need to be a visionary to a certain extent while also being reasonable and realistic. But that is where the notion of money allows you to hardwire your mind so that you understand that money means nothing without the energy that you put out, the output of your energy, energetic output, efforts that you put out into this world is what attracts money. And how you put it out and in what intention you put it out is what attracts the type of money that you want to have in your life. And without that perspective, without those set of values and those morals that you need to abide by for long periods of times in your life until you're able to unlock abundance and eliminate fear of scarcity, which is something we spoke about in a recent episode, episode 13 with Curtis Harris. And fear of scarcity is something that you need to rid yourself of. And we all have it to a certain degree, bottled up inside of us, because the world has been built in a way where you need to fear scarcity, where it is all about survival of the fittest. And until you're able to hardwire your mind in a way where you understand that your vessel is carrying a soul that has unlimited intelligence through the means of creativity, then you won't have that fear of scarcity. But also when you understand that new forms of money exist and are making their way into everyday lives, into mainstream world, into day-to-day business operations through cryptocurrencies, then you realize that the form of money that you've knew all your life until today for the past 100 years no longer has that much meaning because there are other forms of money that you can earn in different ways that allow you to live a financially independent life. And that is the notion of financial inclusion, allowing everyone the possibility to earn, trade, to transact. I would say change your perspective about money, learn the new forms of money that are entering our world today through the world of cryptocurrency, and realize the possibilities that are at all of our disposal so that you can identify the opportunities that are out there.